I know one of the things that you demonstrated for us in the group was how you change your persona using a very simple prop when you're switching from this entertaining Gary salesperson to the get down to brass tacks, get down to details, and actually let's now study this proposal.
Yeah.
You want to share a little bit about that with our audience?
Oh, you picked up on one of my big secrets. Yeah, absolutely. All I'm going to ask your listeners to do is to think back to your school days, and you're sat in class, and the teacher or the lecturer is stood up and they're teaching. Now, in my class in particular, we used to make fun of certain people, whether it's right or wrong. The fact is that kids are quite cruel sometimes, and generally the people that got picked on were people that wore glasses, because the people that wore glasses had a stereotype attached to them, which was that they were nerdy, that they were intelligent, that they were the ones that always got their coursework or homework done on time. So there was a certain stereotype that went along with someone that wore glasses.
Right.
And it suddenly dawned on me that, hang on a minute, what's actually going on here was that people attribute intelligence and credibility to knowing your product based on whether you wear glasses or not.
Yep.
This was an absolute revelation. So what I did, I went out and I bought 40 clear lens spectacles for my sales team. And I got them to wear them when introducing themselves to any CEO. The reason for this is what self-respecting salesperson, and I mean a typical salesperson, let's use a second-hand car dealer, for instance. You wouldn't catch any of those wearing glasses because it doesn't fit with their own persona of being, clever, of being smart, being trendy, being a little bit funky. So it doesn't fit. So when I turn up with a pair of glasses on, I automatically, in the customer's perception, I have intelligence. I'm not a stereotypical salesperson.
And it's a lack of vanity. It's a little bit of a lack of vanity, too, that you're showing.
Absolutely, yeah. And then what I always urge is when they're talking and building rapport, maybe even to take those glasses off and put them on the desk. Yep. Now, the great thing is that when we're talking about price or maybe something slightly technical, I always urge the sales guys to pick up their glasses and put them back on. Again, because if we're talking about technical or detail, the customer needs to feel assured that you are competent in what you're doing. I already know that by the sheer wearing of glasses enhances my intelligence, because in the UK, if I spot someone with glasses and I say, look, can I try your glasses on? As soon as I put those glasses on, someone will say, wow, Gary, that makes you look really intelligent.
Yep. And I love the contrast, too, that you describe of, taking them off when you're trying to build rapport. It's kind of like, the lady letting her hair down. It's kind of like, just you and me talking. Let's get less formal. And you talk, and then when you get serious again, you put them back on. And I've actually picked up on that tip that you gave us, and I've been using it quite effectively ever since.
And, it's also an anchor, too. It's an anchor, like, now I'm getting down to business. You're going to the glasses, now we're putting the glasses down, you're saying now we're on a friendly relationship basis, and then you're back into your work persona, you're putting the glasses back on. And I actually, when I heard that in Vegas, I've been encouraging all the dealers that I'm associated with, like, hey, it's a good idea to try this, and most people are non-believing of it, that it's effective when you first give it to them at first glance. But I've actually since seen a research study that I found on Science Digest on the internet, and it did back this up, that when people see someone in glasses, there's generally a perception that they're a lot more intelligent and a lot smarter.
You know what? One other thing, Gary, is you're probably not even aware of it being from the UK, but, people with British accents are considered to be more intelligent here in the United States, too. I mean, it's a proven, like, Tony Blair could pretty much say anything. He could be reading the phone book and people would think he's a very intelligent person saying it. He is a great guy anyway, but, it's just that British accent for some reason I think makes people think intelligence. I'm talking about the accent like you got. Now, if you get a really Cockney or something, that's a little different. Then you're thought of more as like the Who or something, but hooligans.
It's kind of funny because in the UK, my accent is considered to be the equivalent of your southern accent.
Okay.
So it's more rural, it's more colloquial. It's not the traditional Queen's English.
Right.
So, yeah, I understand what you're saying, but it certainly doesn't work in the UK.
Right. Okay.
For me.
Let's shift gears a little bit here. Let's talk about finding new business. And
yeah.
I know you've been doing this for many years. So how do you feel about prospecting for new business? What do you think the most effective ways are for our listeners to generate new leads for business?
Can I give you 2 examples?
Absolutely.
The first thing is I don't think enough care is taken with the customers that you already have. The reason I say this is that I use a word all the time, and when I first mention it, people sort of frown and question where am I going with this. And the word is seduction. I like to seduce customers, existing customers that have already paid money, that are already using my product, service, or ideas. So what I'm urging people to do when I go in to do consultancy work is, if a customer's been with you for a year, then why not reward them for their loyalty? Send them an unexpected gift, something that they weren't expecting. Or give them a call and offer a free health check for the equipment or the service or the product that you've provided them. To take that a stage further, why not put them in your newsletter? Give them a name mention, promote their business. Act as what a great customer they've been, or offer them something they weren't expecting, like a free upgrade. And I'm talking about seduction here. The reason is because when I looked at this and I was trying to work out, well, what is it about these existing customers that make them stay? When you look at it, it's exactly the same as a personal relationship with a male or female. Once the seduction and the romance has stopped, you lose that person. And if you have no seduction, you have no romance, you're not going to win anyone else. And the same is true for business. Once the seduction stops, your customers start looking elsewhere. Once the romance stops and they stop feeling special, they go to another provider. So when I talk about prospecting, I'm asking people to seduce their customers so that they have no other thoughts in their head. They don't want to cheat, they don't want to leave, and they're not looking for anyone else.
It's like sending flowers to your wife even when you haven't done something stupid the night before. Especially when you haven't done something stupid the night before.
And we all know what effect that has. If you walk in the door and just present your wife with a bunch of flowers, what is the reaction of your wife? It's like, wow, you are such a great husband, you're such a great partner, and there's no chance of them looking elsewhere now because you've done something special, unexpected, and over and above the course of duty that a normal person would go to. And so I just use those very principles of what I'm expected to do in a personal relationship and just transfer that into business.
Yeah. I think people like the respect and the attention as well. People want a little bit of respect. If they're buying all this stuff, and you take it for granted, just like in a relationship, they're going to go away. You're going to find somebody can come in and steal them from you by just showing them some respect and attention.
Absolutely.
The other thing I found that you can do is, with Google's got a thing called Google Alerts, and Steve and I talk about this in our bold calling system some, but with Google Alerts, if you have a really good customer, you can set up Google Alerts to automatically send you links anytime any issue comes up. You can put in whatever keywords you want. So you can put in the name of the company that you're trying to get the information for, or something about their industry that they might find articles about that to be of interest. And then if anything ever comes up, on the Google Alert, it just comes straight into your email, and you can basically just send them a note saying, hey, look what I noticed when I was looking around. I think this could have interest for your company. Just little things like that. We've got your back. We're looking out for you, that kind of thing, as you said.
Yeah. We notice when things are happening. When things go good for you, we notice because we're paying attention to you because we have a relationship.
Definitely. I've been working with a company just recently, and I pointed out to them that they just won the biggest contract of their business life. And all they did, they just sent the staff 10 bottles of champagne. Congratulations for winning this massive order. What transpired was that same company went back to them and said, thank you very much for the champagne. We're so happy. We've done brilliantly well. Our staff have worked fantastic. And now what they said was that they now gave a testimonial saying we couldn't have done it without you.
That's fantastic.
So it worked brilliantly because not only did the original company notice that their customer had won a contract, but now because they did something nice, the client now sent a testimonial saying we couldn't have done it without you. Now, what a great testimonial was that?
That's awesome. So was that the second one, or did you have another?
No, that was the first one.
Okay, I didn't know whether. Okay, so what was the other way to generate new leads that you find to be real effective? That's a great first one.
The second one I've kind of termed applied targeting. In the UK, I'm sort of saying over in the US, a lot of companies go for what we call vertical markets, whether that's real estate, whether that's car dealerships, or they go. Does vertical market convey to you guys?
It means to me that you've got a company that's going deeper into, they're supplying their own raw materials, closer to the source, and they're selling sometimes to other companies that are, they're adding value with different companies along the chain.
Okay. So a vertical market in the UK would be a group of companies that are all in the same industry, like real estate agents.
Okay.
Like recruitment.
I understand it.
Yeah, like recruitment agents, like car dealerships. So all these companies are in the same industry, and what they try to do is that they now target that industry with a specific sales presentation.
Okay. So it's kind of a niche presentation.
Absolutely. Which is great, and it works to a certain degree. But what I've found is that we all know real estate agents, and we know how different they all are. So by having a structured sales presentation to target a certain industry doesn't actually work because of the people within those companies are so very, very different. What I urge the people that I work with to do is, this sounds very strange. Over in the UK, we can subscribe to the Ferrari Owners Club, for instance. Now, on there, it gives me a list of people that are members of the Ferrari Owners Club. Now, these are the people that I want to target, because by having a Ferrari, for instance, I already know that they are emotionally driven to buy, because no one buys a Ferrari for everyday use. It's an emotional buy. It's how it makes you feel. It's about the feeling of driving fast, about the ownership of a luxury car. I know that they probably like gadgets. I know that they impulse buy. So I ask my clients to go and do some applied targeting, i.e. go and source the Ferrari's Owners Club, because generally they tend to be CEOs that own Ferraris. Now, if you've got a product which is high-tech, that is very much driven by feature and benefits and emotionally driven, then these people are the people that I want to get in front of, not necessarily all real estate agents.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, find a different subcategory within the big category, and that lines them up better with your product you're selling.
Absolutely.
And also personalities as well. You're looking for personalities and things you can have a relationship and establish yourself with more than you're looking at somebody that just fits a product profile.
Definitely. It's just all about being slightly cleverer than your competition. Because let's face it, when a list comes out of the top 250 companies' performance in the US, you can bet your bottom dollar that most salespeople that are in those industries will target the top 250. But what about 250 to 500? These are the people that don't get targeted because everyone's concentrating on the 250.
Right, and the 250 to 500 people are the ones that are going to grow into the 1 to 250 over the next 5 years, and so they probably have huge needs for your products as well.
Absolutely, and these are the people that now you can legitimately go in, sit with the CEO, and now promote your product, service, and idea to get them into the 250. Knowing full well that all your competitors are concentrating on the top sector. No one is looking after the middle guys.
Right.
So it's just being clever. It's just being about applied targeting when you are prospecting. Stop doing what everyone else is doing and try and find that niche market, whether it's emotionally like the Ferrari Club or whether it's the 250 to 500 performing companies.
That's another great point, Gary. Really appreciate that. So once you've got this new prospect and you've generated this lead with the, you okay, Steve?
Yeah, I had to hit the mute real quick. Somebody just jiggled their car next to me.
So
for a minute there, I actually thought they were going to take him away.
Yeah, I thought so too. He's in the rough area there.
Oh my Lord, God,
So once you get this new lead and you think you've got a good potential customer and they match up with your profile for a good customer, and you're going to make the initial contact, what are the keys that you teach your sales people that you're training to remember in that initial contact?
Oh, well, there's a number of things, really. The first thing, which has made such a massive difference, is when we first make initial contact, normally that's over the phone, over the telephone.
Right.
The problem is that what we're saying is, hello there, it's Gary May from wherever. The name that we use determines the perception about what this call is going to be about. In the UK, I'm sure it's the same in the States, where telemarketers, telesalespeople, cold calling, whatever you want to call it, they tend to be a younger generation. We're talking 18 to 25-year-olds. Is that generally true?
It's true. On the telephone side, definitely true.
Okay, so in the UK, we have some very fashionable names. Like, Tamika, Paris, because of Paris Hilton, Wade. We have some very fashionable names. But all that does is identify you as a young person calling in to a CEO to try and get an appointment. So what I ask the people to do, the telemarketers or the telesales people, is that generally their middle names are names of their grandparents or even their parents, like Marie, like Anne, like Robert, like Peter, like Mark. I urge them to actually use their middle names when first contacting a customer, because now it doesn't set them in a telemarketing, telesales role simply by the name that they use.
Right, you're overcoming that stereotype of the cool name.
Absolutely. As soon as someone picks up the phone and says, "Hi, it's Tamika." Tamika sounds like a 21-year-old. The 21-year-old works in telesales. A telesales person is trying to sell you something. Sorry, goodbye, thank you, bye.
Right.
And then they put the phone down.
So as long as Tamika's middle name's not Jocana.
Now that would be funny.
Then she's got to go with Alexandria or something like that.
Yeah, I know so many people that actually use their middle name as their name. Just because they prefer it. I mean, my grandfather, for instance, his name's Eric, but he actually calls himself Jack. I've never known him to be called Eric. He just prefers Jack as his name. And so what I do, I urge people to use their middle names, because now when you phone up and you say, "Hi, it's Robert," or it's Mary, Mary and Robert have a connotation of being, over 35, 40, 50. They don't sound like stereotypical sales telesales people, and therefore the customer listens more intently rather than just saying, "Oh, Tamika, no thanks, bye."
Yeah, it's more of a conservative approach.
Absolutely.
And then how do you start out the conversation once you've given your name and all? Do you have any tips there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one thing that I would do, I always offer a customer an opt-out. And when I'm talking about an opt-out of the call, I mean a huge opt-out. So the way that there's a sentence that I would use, which is, let's say I was talking to you, Rob, and I introduced myself as Gary May, and I tell you what company I'm calling from. And now what I say is something like, now, at any stage, Rob, if we find out that you don't qualify, or you're simply not interested, then give me a shout, we'll end the call, I'll take you off our database, and you'll never have to hear from me again. Now, is that fair?
Sure, Gary. I got a couple minutes.
Okay, so, by me saying, "Is that fair?" you say yes, which implies what? You're going to listen.
Right.
So you've just given me permission to now follow my sales pitch all the way through to the end until such times that we discover that you don't qualify or you're simply not interested. But it does keep you on the phone.
Right. You kind of put a guarantee on the call that you can bail out at any time, and I won't have my feelings hurt, and I'll never bug you again.
Absolutely. So you're giving them an opt-out, but then they're kind of giving you the permission to carry on. So just to recap, all that simply was that, okay, so Robert, if we find out that you don't qualify or you're simply not interested, then please just give me a shout. We'll end the call. I'll take you off the database. You never have to hear from me again. Is that fair?
Sure, Gary.
Absolutely, the customer says. Now, by saying yes, that's fine, they're giving you permission to now carry on. Whereas most telemarketers, what happens is that, hi, it's Gary May from so-and-so company. I've got a fantastic product. You need to listen. Da, 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 da. No, thank you, bye.
I think that's a fantastic point. I mean, because in addition to what we were just saying about the guarantee, that you've taken all the risk out of it for them. Because the one thing I think people worry about is that they worry about, if I don't cut this thing off right now, you know, before this guy gets started, I'm not going to be able to get a word in edgewise. I'm not going to be able to, you know, to politely get out.
Yeah.
So but I think you don't feel trapped either. You know, when somebody says, "Hey, if at any time you're done with me, I'm just going to let you go," people feel safe with that, because I know I get on there and you're like, "Okay, I got to go. Okay, I got to go," and they keep talking, and that's the big fear, that you're going to be trapped in that situation.
So the important words in that sentence is that fair?
Yep.
Because it is extremely fair. You're giving the customer the ideal opportunity to end the call, and they never have to hear from you again. And that is extremely fair, and something that your competitors are really not doing, because they're just bombarding the customer with talk after talk after talk after talk, so much so that they're ears-bleed and they actually hang up on you.
Well, hopefully our listeners are writing this down and they go back and back up and play that over again, because you pretty much repeated verbatim 2 times in a row. Obviously, it's something you've said thousands of times. This is one of those cases where having a little note card with these words written on it and keeping it by your side while you're making the phone calls until it becomes second nature, which will probably take about a day or 2, you know, is something that all of our listeners ought to be writing down while they're on the way to get their glasses at the drugstore.
Definitely. I urge everyone that I ever train to, if I don't provide them, then to make some business card size note cards and then put them in a business card folder and just keep them with you. So when you get into an appointment, you just quickly refresh and everything's there for you.
Cool. So, I mean, really, by doing that thing about is, you know, you do I have permission to go on with this call, and getting the permission, you're basically, now anything you say can just be your normal sales call. You don't really need to do any other tricks with your presentation. You just have to keep it interesting and focused on the customer, I would imagine.
Absolutely, because now what we've done, we've put the onus on the customer to actually alert you to the fact that that he's not interested. But he has to listen to find out that he's not interested. And also the other qualifying thing that we put in there was that if you do not qualify, we'll end the call. So it gives the telemarketer or the telesalesperson an opportunity to say, I do apologise, but you don't actually qualify for what I'm actually presenting. So you do get down to qualifying questions at the very least.
Right.
Right. I like that.
That's great. So in the case of getting in, you know, you're on the phone, what's the typical outcome that you're looking for from your phone call when you're making this initial contact? What in the sales that you've done in the past, what's the objective for the call?
The objective of the call is to make an appointment for a salesperson to go and meet with them to present the product. What I found, and this is a common mistake with many organizations, is that they try and sell the product on the telephone call, on the initial telephone call, which I find is a massive mistake. What they should be doing is selling the appointment.
Right.
Selling the sales appointment on what's going to happen once the sales guy is there. There's no point in talking technical to a person over the phone, because you just wouldn't retain it. You've got no visualization, you've got no brochures, you've got no visual material there, and you're leaving the customer to make up his own image about what this product actually does. And invariably, they can't do it.
Right.
And that's the reason why many customers say, actually, no thank you, or I can't see a need. It's not because they can't see a need, it's because they can't actually get it in, they can't visualize what this thing's going to do for them. So I always urge people, it's the sales appointment that they need to sell, not the product.
Right, and that's why it's so important to do the qualification step, because obviously sending a salesperson out there and into the field and spending time and effort and all that, you know, you don't want to send them out on wild goose chases, you know. So,
no, definitely not.
So you're qualifying the person, and you're at the same time selling him on the value of a face-to-face meeting.
Yeah, I mean, the idea is you sell them the concept, and you sell them the future outcome once they own the product. The middle bit we leave to the salesperson.
Okay.
So yeah, the middle bit, the technicalities and how it's going to integrate into their business, or what people we need to get involved to put this idea in place, that is got to be left to the salesperson. We just can't and haven't got the tools available to do that over a telephone call.
Yeah, and you don't know how preoccupied the person might be anyway. He may be in the middle of something right now that would preclude him from giving it his full attention. So, you know, you really want to get him one-on-one in a sales meeting to do that.